So our bodies are meant to work and flourish, and we're meant to be able to do all of the things. Get up and have a day of connection. Perhaps you have a family, you have a spouse, children, or maybe work. Maybe you spend your days, it depends on what season of life we're in. Maybe you're a teen listening and you're still in school, or a college student. Our days are meant to be full and with connection. When I experienced that chronic fatigue, I didn't have that connection. Not too much with other people, because I struggled so much with the chronic fatigue. It had me bedridden, and it was so unpredictable. I wasn't myself. I wasn't able to do for others like I would normally do on a day-to-day basis. It was filled with unknown, because I didn't know how long this would last. When I got to the end of that season of grief, it was a total of 2 years, almost to the day. So I knew I had to go through this grief experience, this loss. I knew it wasn't something that I could walk around. I knew it wasn't something I could ignore, because it knocked me off my feet. I had to go through it, and I went through it with grace, because I felt, and my belief is, the Lord walked me through. He held me through. He held my hand. He lifted my chin. He kept me on point. So I had to go through it. I couldn't ignore it. And I find that if you ignore it, at some point it's going to hit you. I know that I have, somebody was once telling me that they never processed the loss of their loved one until years and years later. I wonder what that would be. It would just be hidden in the body, and it's still there, but at some point she had to deal with it. She had to go through it, not around it. She couldn't ignore it, because at some point it caught up with her. While I was going through this process, what I was doing is I was accepting my new life. I accepted the passing of my dad when he passed, but it was a new identity for me, because I felt like a piece of me was missing. I felt like I would ask myself, how do I make my way without my dad here? I just felt, and some of you can relate to this if you experience grief, it's a new you. I was a new person without my dad, and I was trying to understand, how do I do this new life? The body stores all of our emotions, whether they're good or bad. It's stored in the body. There was this Harvard study, and it was one of the longest ones that they did on humans. It was over 80 years long. They studied a huge group of human beings who had lost people, who were going through grief. And this study showed that when a person is going through grief, or when they experience loss, and when we don't process these emotions, it can build up in the body to such an extent that we can have all kinds of illness. We can have pain in the body. We can have heart issues. We can have anxiety. It just shows up. There's a book out there, I believe it's called The Body Keeps Score. I think there's so much truth to that. All of the experiences that we have in life, every trauma, whether it's a loss of a loved one, or it's a traumatic experience in our life that happened, it stores in the body. It's right there. And then the good things that happen in our life also store. So my goal in life is to store up as many good experiences I can possibly have, and to process the emotions that are stored up and those negative things that happened in my life. I allow, I can, kind of like a sifting of the thing that you put the food in and you shake it and some of the stuff falls out and then the stuff that remains. I want it to be good stuff. I'm so protective of my mind to the point where when it comes to TV show or what I listen to, what am I looking at? What am I hearing? What will I allow in my life? I need to have that sifter on. I have to protect my space because I have one temple, one body, and I need to preserve it the best way that I can. I personally want to have good health. And in order to do the mission that I'm on, I have to take care of my body. I have to be protective of it. So if you're a person who is grieving, if you're a person who is feeling lost, if you're a person who's just feeling stuck, I want to tell you that there is definitely a way out. There's definitely a hurdle that you may have to jump or a mountain that you may have to climb. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's doable. It is possible. In my belief, all things are possible through Christ because he gives me strength. And I'll tell you that time that I was down and I was in that chronic fatigue, all the while, oddly enough, I felt very strong. And it was because of my faith in him. I knew that he was going to take me through this. I didn't know how long it was going to be, but I had the faith that I was going to overcome and I was going to get through. The one thing I know is we are so much better as a people when we connect. Connection is what we were made for. When God created Adam, he was like, this is good. This guy is good. I made a human. He is good. But he's not meant to be alone. And as hard as it might be for us to wrap our head around this, just as much as it was that God created Adam and that you were created by one seed, what he did is he took a rib, you may know this, out of Adam's body and he made a woman out of his rib. Why? Because he said, this human is great. He's good, but he needs a companion. He needs a helpmate. And us as women, we were designed to come beside a man and work together to make this world better, to do things together. A man is stronger physically. We know that he is stronger. We are considered the weaker vessel in some ways. But when we come together, we make each other stronger. We become this union. And when a man and a woman marry the way that God created it, it's that we become one. We come together in unison to work together, to be stronger together. And I think it's pretty awesome. So when you're in this thing, when you're experiencing the trial, when you're going up that hill, the battle is like considered a hill. You got a mountain, or maybe it's just a hill for you, or maybe you see it as like a roadblock and you want to get to the other side of the roadblock. How do we do that? We don't get it by sitting down and sitting still. It requires movement of the body. You got to get up and you got to get going. Move that body. Sometimes we have to change our environment. We've got to use our legs. We've got to get creative. And one of the things that I did when I was going through the trial and the loss of my dad is I turned inward and I tuned in and I said, what do you need to get better? And I didn't know what I needed, but God knew what I needed. My Father, my higher power, my Heavenly Father, Abba, I call him my dad. my Father in heaven knew what I needed. And he said, I need you to go from here to there. And when he took me there, it was to the mountains and it was in the desert. And that's what I say, that he allowed me to overcome and get through my trial by visiting the desert. I call it my 40 days and 40 nights in the mountains or in the desert with Jesus, because over that course of 2 years, I moved my body out and he placed me in a place that he knew would feel like home, and it actually felt like heaven. It was incredible. When I would land there and get in that spot, I felt safe, I felt more at peace, and I felt much more connected to my Heavenly Father. So he met me there, and it was glorious and it was beautiful. I was allowing my life to unfold as it should. It took a lot of effort for me to move from one place to the other, but it also felt at ease. Like it just felt like this is what I needed to do. And when you're in flow with your spirit and with your gut and with whatever your belief is, mine is the creator of of heavens and earth, God. When you are spiritually connected, life will unfold in a way that it should. And those 40 days and 40 nights in the desert with Jesus was a battleground for me, because I was battling what it was that I was going through. And it was my training ground. It was my healing ground. It was many things that were preparing me for a time such as this, for today. And I knew while I was there, he was showing me that I was going to be speaking to the nations. He was preparing messages in my mind all day long, all day long. I knew it was coming, I just didn't know when. All of the evidence was there. He was showing me these things by speaking to me about what I would say to people when I felt comfortable, not that I was comfortable when I started speaking publicly, because I wasn't, but when it was time, I knew what he was wanting me to say, because I had that vision when I was 19 that I was to speak. I just didn't know what I was speaking about, and I didn't know when it was to come. And then that gift was released on me, the knowing of my calling, 7 days after my dad had passed. I knew what I was to do, but I had to go through a season of training before the Lord led me to speak and come forward. Because when I was in that desert season, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was not communicating with friends. I was barely communicating to family. I was just trying to manage myself and get through what I knew I needed to go through. I call that 40 days and 40 nights my medicine. He knew what I needed, and the Lord supplied what I needed because I said yes to what he asked me to do. I call it my assignment. Because I said yes to the Lord. I will do where you are calling me. And he said, okay. Because I was willing to do that, I was in return rewarded with what I needed to get better. And the medicine was just this amazing time with him. And if you've ever experienced Earth, and wherever you're living from, where I was located, it's one of the most beautiful places a person could go. And it's high, it's wide, it's broad, it's beautiful. It makes you feel very small, and it makes you understand just a little bit. You get just a glimpse of all of the things that the Lord created on this earth. and beyond. It gives you the bigger picture. It opens up your eyes to see the broadness of what exists. So one of the reasons why I knew that I was on the right path is the evidence before me. It wasn't by accident that I would meet this person on the plane. We would have this conversation. You know, she would tell me how she was on the way back from a funeral, that she had lost her niece and everything that the family was going through. That was not by accident. It was a God-ordained meeting. Another evidence would be somebody that I might cross paths with when I was on my 40 days and 40 nights. One of the girls at the resort that I was staying at, she had just lost her mom the week before. And we were going on a walk, and she came up to me and she started talking. And then she told me about her mom. She was there to grieve her mom, and I was there to grieve my dad. And we connected and we became best friends. And then she was actually the first person that I coached, because I was a bit further than her. I had gotten through to the other side, and I did a lot of brain training in the process. I did a lot of coaching, and I did things that I needed to get me to the other side. And then I built my own program. And then my friend, who became a best friend there in the desert of Utah, she actually was so interested in my program that she became my first client. And it was good. And it was not by accident. So friend, I say to you, it's super important to know yourself better than anyone else to get to that best version of you. It's so important to know yourself better than anyone else to get to that best version of you. And God turned my ashes, my loss into beauty. So I say ashes to beauty. I call it where God turned my life around because I said yes to myself, to get to know myself better, to be the best version of me. I said yes. And I went to work and I started training myself through neuroscience, training my brain. It allowed me to heal. It allowed me to have that self-reflection. I took care of myself the best way I knew how. And then I found at some point that a big reason that I was so chronically fatigued had to do with my iron levels. And if you don't have iron in your body, or the levels of your body are off, it can wreak havoc and it can do many things. So I'm not a person who, I found that I can't absorb iron through food or different things like the normal way that you would through supplements. The only way that I can absorb that iron is actually through infusions. So there I was on my way getting infusions to help my body function. And once I was getting those infusions, my body became alive. I followed the knowing. I knew I had to get these infusions in order to feel better. So I did that. And I want to say to you, can you relate to any of this? Getting to the other side, or maybe where are you right now in your life? Are you on that other side and you're still growing? Are you experiencing loss right now in the grief? Or are you in the midst, are you pushing through the trial? I can't encourage you enough to be true to yourself and to find gratitude. So what can you be grateful for? Every day, if you prime your brain and you say, you pick at least 3 things you're grateful for, or 3 experiences that you had in life. Think about it. It could be something so simple. It could be dinner with your family. Be grateful for it. It could be having a warm vehicle to drive. Be grateful for it. It could be being able to pay your bills. Be grateful for it. Don't take it for granted. How about the physical body that you're walking, you're talking, you're listening right now? I'm so grateful for my ears. Like, that's my big gratitude this week. Is I'm so grateful I can hear other people speak. And then I thought to myself, I am so grateful. I need to pay attention. When somebody's talking, I need to look at them. I need to pay attention to them. Number one, it makes them feel special, but I want to make sure I hear what they have to say. Our ears are they're a gift. I mean, could you imagine? I know a lot of people can't hear. They can't see. Or they can't walk. You know, if you're one of those people who have one of those things that are not that, if we are missing something like that in our life, you might even see it as a gift, or you might see it as why me. But I want to encourage you to find the things that you can be grateful for and meditate on them. Meditate on them. Let me see. I am coming up with a quote in my head. Let me think what this will be today. Okay. So I believe it was, who said this? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he says, when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. It's Wayne Dwyer, that's who said it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I want you to take that with you today, and I want you to focus on what you're thinking about. And if it is not serving you, make sure you change the way your view. How are you seeing it? How are you seeing it? Put a different lens on. Put a different lens on in order to see it in a way that is good in some way. What do you need? We want to live a life of truth. We want to live a life of abundance. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And you can contact me for coaching and speaking at buildingchristianroots.com. buildingchristianroots.com for all your coaching and speaking needs. Until next time, be sure to level up one day at a time. Much love, Olivia.K.